Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Puskar, and I'm going to be sharing with you 8 easy secrets for weight loss. I recommend you getting a pen and a paper and following along and/or watch this video again, and because we're going to be giving you all kinds of great information. The first thing that I want to share with you is these 8 secrets. What I would recommend doing is implementing 1 a week. And you might be thinking, wow, that's a long time. I can tell you the first secret, secret 0, is the faster you lose weight, the faster it comes back on. The slower you lose weight, the more permanent, most likely, the weight loss will be. So I'm telling you, in order to really achieve great weight loss and have it be permanent, you're going to need a bare minimum of 8 weeks, if not longer. So take your time, don't rush, do 1 secret a week, and then let's see where you're at the end of 8 weeks. So let's start with secret number 1. Number 1 is eat only when you are hungry. And you're like, well, that's obvious. Of course it's obvious, but yet none of us do it. We eat because it's convenient. We eat because it's a social gathering. We eat because it's 9 a.m. and it's time for breakfast, or it's 5 p.m. and it's time for dinner. So much of our eating is not actually eating when we're hungry. Your body is very similar in design as a car, for example. So the question becomes, when do you fill the gas tank in your car? When it's empty, when you see the needle going down, and or you're getting the bells and or the light saying, hey, it's time to put some fuel in here. Therefore, you should be treating your body exactly the same way, waiting for it to get hungry and then actually eating. So let's try for a week to eat only when we're actually hungry. Now, the thing is this might take as many as 16 hours, 18 hours, even 24 hours before you're actually hungry. Because we overeat so much, it's going to take several hours, if not a day, for the body to start resetting itself. So if you're not hungry after 8 hours, don't eat. If you're not hungry after 12 hours, don't eat. The only thing I would say is that you're feeling a little lightheaded or dizzy or nauseated, then of course eat. We don't want you passing out in public. But at the same time, trying to start listening to your body and get it to reset the fuel button so that it only tells you to eat when you're actually hungry. Number 2, before you eat, drink a glass of water. I cannot tell you how much of these hunger sensations you're getting are actually due to dehydration and not food need. The mechanism for thirst and hunger are very, very similar, that a lot of times what the body will do is make you think you're hungry, only because it's trying to send the signal. It's like, hey, we need some sustenance down in here, but what we need is actually water, not food. So the body isn't always really perfect at giving you that communication. So how you know if that's the scenario is you just drink an 8-ounce glass of water and see where you're at in about 15-30 minutes. If you are not hungry after drinking the glass of water, this tells us you're not drinking enough water overall. So take a look at your current water consumption and definitely increase it, and then just use the trick of always drinking water before you eat. If you're still hungry after a half hour, then of course you're actually hungry, and the communication the body was trying to send is that it needs food. So by all means, go ahead and eat. The third one is eat what you want when you want it. And you're like, what? Thank you. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to go live on cookies and wine. What this means is first and foremost, is you're going to eat what the body actually is desiring and only when it's actually desiring it. The reverse of that is you can't eat what you don't want when you don't want it. This means that just because there's cookies lying around, you can't have them. You actually have to want the cookies. And the goal is wanting the cookies before you see them. That's how you actually know you, quote, want them. The body is sending you a signal saying like, hey, you know what? We could really go for some water, or hey, we could really go for a cheeseburger, or whatever the case may be. You're only allowed to eat what the body wants when it's sending you the signal. So for example, let's say it's 11:30 in the morning and you're kind of hungry and you're like, wow, I could use some food. And you're like, you know what I could really go for right now is a strawberry yogurt. Now, what are you going to have? Well, you better have the strawberry yogurt. If you start trying to replace these food items and it's not what the body wanted when it wanted it, what does that make you do? Just eat more and more and more and different food items, still not being satisfied because the basic message was the body wanted a strawberry yogurt. So what you're trying to do is listen to what the body wants and give it what it wants when it wants it. Another example is, let's say you made a beautiful pot roast with potatoes and carrots and beautiful jus sauce. It's just a beautiful recipe. And it's 6 p.m. and it's time for dinner. Let's say you're not even hungry, in keeping with rule number 1 and number 2. First of all, you're not going to eat it at 6 p.m. just because it's 6 p.m. And then let's say it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you finally start getting hungry and you look at that pot roast and you're just like, oh, I just don't want it. And you're thinking, what do I really want? Let's say again, strawberry yogurt. Guess what you're having for dinner? Strawberry yogurt. You have to start listening to your body's indicators. If it's not telling you, yes, let's have some potatoes, some carrots, some beautiful roast beef, it's because that's not the nourishment or the nutrients that the body needs. There must be something in the strawberry yogurt that it needs, that it keeps telling you, please eat some strawberry yogurt. So all you do is pack up your beautiful dinner, put it in the refrigerator, possibly eat it tomorrow. If it doesn't indicate that day, put it in the freezer and try again in maybe a week or two. If strawberry yogurt is where it's at, definitely have the strawberry yogurt. If you want a few cheese cubes or you want some celery sticks, again, don't apologize. Eat what you want when you want it. You're like, you know what? It's 11 in the morning and you could go for a cheeseburger. Don't apologize. Cheeseburgers you can't eat until lunch or dinner. Who said so? If your body's like, you know what? We really want a cheeseburger, eat the cheeseburger. This is also true in the beginning of doing these weight loss secrets. People are like, well, I'm craving sugar. You're telling me I can have it? And the answer is yes. Now, everybody watching this video and every nutritionist is going to be like, oh my gosh, no. Well, to begin with, I didn't say now and forever. What you're trying to do first and foremost is reset your body's digestion and hunger buttons, kind of like a computer, pushing the reset button and trying again. The very first thing, if the body is craving sugar, give into it. Now, we're not going to do this forever, but you'll notice the nicer you are to your body, the nicer the body will be to you. Now, how we're actually going to get through this and how this actually does work is, here's what most people are doing. So let's say it's 6 o'clock at night and you want a chocolate candy bar. And everybody's telling you sugar is bad, you shouldn't have it, you're a grown-up, you know better. But guess what? You still want the chocolate bar. So what do? You go, well, let me have some cheese, let me have some yogurt, let me eat some protein, let me make a protein smoothie, let me drink this, let me do that. Meanwhile, your calories are adding up, your carbohydrates are adding up, your fat is adding up, and guess, several hours later, what do you still want? The candy bar. You would have been better off calorie, carb, and every other way of just having the candy bar. First, we have to give the body what it needs when it's asking for it, and then if that mechanism doesn't reset itself, then there's some further discoveries that need to be made. But at least first and foremost, just eat the chocolate, satisfy the craving, and then probably all those other food items you wouldn't have eaten. So, eat what you want when you want it. The fourth one is eat enough just to fill you. People overeat all the time. You want to know the rule of thumb on eating until you're full? Your stomach is the size of your fist. So if you want to know how much food you're supposed to be eating, about this much. Now people argue like, oh, well, you know, my neighbor's fist is bigger than mine. Well, that's because your neighbor probably has a larger frame. So by design, your body parts are as big in equal ratios to the rest of the body by design. So if you happen to be a Northern European and you're a bigger body, you will have a higher calorie need, a higher nutrient need, and you'll also, have a little bit bigger of a fist. That way you can get away with some more nutrition. So it's equal person to person for that individual, not you versus your neighbor. So rule of thumb, whenever you are anywhere, at home or out, the idea is eating the amount of the size of your fist. Now, if you do that and you're still a little hungry, that actually is going to happen in the beginning. The reason for this is that your stomach is very similar to a balloon, is that you probably have it a little bit stretched out. So what you need to do is first eat to the fist full of food. And if you're still hungry or don't feel satiated, just eat a little bit more until you can finally feel that full feeling. Don't overstretch, because that's where you end up with a dysfunctional digestive tract. Just start with the fist, add till you feel full, and then stop right then and there. The goal is over several weeks of doing this, you will be able to get down to the fist size. Just like in a balloon, if you blow it up, it shrinks back down. So your stomach will cooperate and add the same way. So it'll tighten itself up In a very positive way, there'll be less room. And then further eating in the future, weeks, months, years from now, in a very positive way, you will only be able to eat less and therefore keep your calorie, your carb, and your protein and fat ratios in check, in keeping with the particular design of your body. Number 5, eat it again later. This is kind of in keeping with the fistful of food. Let's say you were out to dinner and there's 2 fistfuls worth of food on the plate and you're like, oh, I really want it, but don't need it. The thing is you eat the fistful of food and then eat it again later. Take it home, have it again. So it's much better on a body. Let's say, for example, something even really bad. Let's say you go out to dinner and you get that huge piece of death by chocolate cake. Okay, great. Eat just enough to be satisfied and then just take the rest home and enjoy it later. It's so much easier on your pancreas, your blood sugar levels, and your digestive tract to only have to handle half a cake worth of sugar as far as a whole cake worth of sugar. So it'd be better to eat half the cake now and then the rest of the cake either as a midnight snack or even the next day. So the secret is to eat it again later. Eat only what you want right now when you want it, in keeping with a fistful of food. And then if that's too much and there's still a lot left over and you don't want to waste it and you want to enjoy it again, eat it again later. Okay, the next secret is share so you eat less. So if you're struggling with the few we just discussed and you really can't control yourself, one of the things that is very successful is finding a teammate to do this with you. A good friend, a sister, a spouse. So that way, if you do want to be bad and you can't really control yourself, let's say, for example, again, the death by chocolate cake, if you and your significant other go out for dinner, let's share a piece of cake. That way, everybody gets to be a little bad, but not completely bad and just destroy all of your hard work of whatever you've been doing already. That way, you had to handle that little bit of sugar craving, you didn't overdo it, your significant other, or whoever you're with, had a little bit of enjoyment as well, and everyone goes home and then still relatively healthy out of it, all said and done. So anytime you want to splurge, I do this with my husband on occasion, every so often, a few times a year, we go out for breakfast and we share a side of pancakes. So instead of getting our good, healthy, nutritious breakfast of eggs, protein, etc., once in a while, we just want to be a little bad. So, but instead of both of us get our own side of pancakes, we just get one. And you just kind of nibble from both sides of the plate. That way, you primarily had a great, healthy dinner, and then you had a little bit of extra fun on the side in the form of pancakes. Okay? So sharing is a great option. The next secret is eat before you go out to a party or an event. So let's say you are being really good, you're down some weight, and, you know, in a good way, you just don't want anybody to know that you're trying to lose because everyone makes a big deal about it. So just keep it under wrap. This is from, for you to know and only you to know what you're trying to do and achieve. So a lot of times you're going to be invited to things and you're like, oh, wow, if I go, I know I'm going to be bad. I'm going to splurge. I know I can't resist, my best friend's, chocolate cake. What you do to try and prevent yourself from going overboard is eat before you go. So have whatever you want for dinner, enjoy yourself, eat what you want when you want it. And then when you go to the party or the event, now you'll probably still eat some of the chocolate cake, but in a good way, your stomach will already be pretty much full, that you're only going to be able to get in this much cake as opposed to this much cake. Okay? So eat before events, you don't want to be bad. Sometimes you go to events and you know that the food there isn't even going to be good, and then you end up eating it anyway. And you're like, why did I eat that? I didn't even like it. Well, what will prevent that is if you already go with a pretty full stomach, you might nibble and take a little bit of this or that. But again, the content of the calories, the carbs, the protein, and the fat that could potentially make you gain weight isn't going to be there because you couldn't do it possibly on the little bit that you actually ate. Okay, last secret, number 8. Pretend to blend in. So this is part of number 7. You go to a party and you don't want to offend the hostess. Let's say it's somebody's birthday and they went through a lot of work, and you don't want to go in and be the person in the room and be like, oh, I'm on a diet, or I can't have that. You just want to kind of blend in. It's this other person's day. It's their event. You want to be there, for the social camaraderie of it. It's really not about whether you ate their birthday cake or not. But if it becomes an issue, what you do is just take a small piece of whatever they're offering. And then you just pretend to eat it. So what you do, for example, you get the piece of birthday cake, and let's say it's not even the good cake. It's not like it's a homemade, beautiful something. It's a coworker, and they just ran out to the store like 30 minutes before and grabbed the one out of the grocery store. So you know it's not a good quality cake. So you just take a little piece, and then you play around with your fork, and maybe you kind of put a little bit of the frosting on your tongue and lick it as you're chatting, and like, oh, it's so nice and good to see you as you're chatting. And then what you do is kind of just take your fork and mush it up around the plate, and then it makes it look like you actually ate it, even though you didn't. So you're just kind of pushing it around and kind of doing this, and maybe a few crumbs, a little bit of frosting went in your mouth, and then because it's all crumbled all over the plate, it looks like you ate it. Then it's time to go back to work. You're like, oh, I gotta go, got back on the clock now, gotta go check some emails. You just throw it in the trash and no one's the wiser. That way you just look like you partake. Whoever the hostess is, they're happy. The actual guest of honor, they're happy. And guess who's also happy? Is you, is because you didn't actually, really get yourself in too much trouble. So you can see just working on each one of these 1 week at a time, it's gonna take some work. Though they're easy in theory, they're a little bit difficult in application. So take the pressure off yourself. No one is expecting you to be Superman, Superwoman in a week with trying this. Do one a week for 8 weeks and see where you're at the end of 8 weeks. Then what I would do at the end of the 8 weeks is start again and go through the list again, what you might be able to tweak, modify, improve, things you realize, little tricks you picked up on your own, and go through them a second time. You should be down even more weight. Now you're 16 weeks into it, and whatever weight you lost, you can be certain this is actually permanent because you did it slowly, you did it correctly, and you did it over time. The body is very thankful for that, and you just keep revisiting this. So again, it's going to take you a bare minimum of 8 weeks, but I wish you the best of luck and success. Thank you for watching our video, and have a great day.